Listening live to Money Talks with me, Darren Vilardo, fighting financial illiteracy with our outstanding programming here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., live and local on AM1510 in the Inland Empire in Orange County, AM1450 in San Diego. Thanks so much for sticking with us here this beautiful Thursday morning, October 25th. Dow Jones currently down about 26 points, with the S&P 500 down about 1.5 now to 1407.28. We talked about some of that mixed economic news today. The initial headline numbers look very strong, but when you dig a little deeper, you see the continued weakness. I would argue bouncing along the bottom here, and thus no cause to really push this market higher. Indeed, not much move to the upside, but the downside mitigated somewhat as well. All right, we've been talking about the residential real estate market on the program for quite some time. I just went through some of the existing home sales numbers. Yesterday, we talked about the new home sales and the mortgage data as well. So I thought it would be a grand idea if we talked about the commercial real estate market a little bit, because clearly that's impactful to our economy as well. And if you've lived in Southern California over the last few years, you've probably seen a lot of new office buildings out there that are empty. So I thought we'd get a little update on what's going on with the commercial real estate market. I have on the line Tony Guglielmo. He is a owner and broker at Allied Commercial Real Estate in Ontario, California. Tony, are you with us?
I'm here.
Tony, good morning to you, sir.
How are you, Darren?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. Tony, tell us a little bit about what kind of activity you're seeing out there in the commercial real estate market.
Well, Darren, we're starting to see things pick up a little bit here in the Inland Empire, which is a good sign. Depending on the sector that you're looking at, there's more activity. The multifamily sector in particular, we've seen a lot of activity. We've had, with apartment units, anything, 5 units to 50 units. We're getting back to the old days when there's multiple offers coming in for sellers to consider. So that's a good sign. On the office and industrial side, we're also seeing a pickup driven primarily by the owner-user side of things, which what's nice is that you've got SBA financing. Interest rates are at all-time lows, and it enables small industrial users and office users to get into the financing arena. All
right, hold on a second, Tony. I want to go back to that multifamily, the apartment units. Mm-hmm. I know that during the downturn in the residential market, obviously the multifamily, the apartments have done very well as people lost their homes or let their homes go, and they said, hey, let's move. We have to move into an apartment. And I know rents have increased dramatically over the last few years. Is the boom in multifamily apartment units, right? Is it a bubble out there? Is it toppy? Are you seeing multiple offers because there's not a lot of inventory, much like we're seeing in the residential market?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I don't think it's a bubble at the moment right now. I mean, I think it's good, healthy fundamentals. We're seeing a slow, steady rent growth. And what makes multifamily so attractive is the fact that you can mitigate a lot of your risk. If you buy a 10-unit building and 1 or 2 of your tenants move out, you're still meeting your debt service. You're still getting cash flow. If you buy an industrial building or an office building and 1 of your tenants goes out, it's likely to be half your income stream. So, with slow and steady rent growth and mitigated risk from multiple tenants, it just appears to be one of the better, asset classes and product types to go into.
Okay, so now let's talk about the industrial or the office stuff. You say you're starting to see a pickup of that in the owner-occupied or owner-used because of the low interest rate environment. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what happens is the Small Business Administration, extends financing for businesses that you've got to meet certain requirements. You got to be able to produce, your tax returns. You've got to show, growth in your income stream, that your business is, successful. I think it's about a minimum of 2 years, 2 or 3 years in business to get qualified for SBA. But one of the attractive features of it is the fact that it only requires a 10% down payment. So if you're going to go SBA, you only need to come out with 10% down. as opposed to conventional financing, which is 25 or 30% down. So
okay, and where are rates at on these SBA loans?
Well, they have it's a blended rate, because you get a traditional bank to loan your 50%. Those rates are coming in, 4.25%, depending on the term of the loan. Then you've got the SBA, which comes in and insures a second for 40%. Those rates are fixed by the SBA department. I think they're coming in the mid to high 5% right now. It comes out every 30 days. They issue a new interest rate. But blended, you're in the low 5s.
Yeah, so that sounds like a pretty attractive deal. If I'm a small business owner, I can go out and buy a building, an office building or industrial building. I only need to bring 10% to the table, and I can borrow 90% somewhere in the 5.5% range, depending on the blend that those rates come at.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like a good time to be a shopper for a office or industrial building based on that rate equation.
I think so. I would agree with you.
So are you seeing a lot of that activity out there? Because, I'm as I said, anybody in Southern California can drive down the street and see a lot of empty commercial properties.
Well, and that's the trick. I mean, you've got to plug it. You got to be able to produce those tax returns. You have to show a good, strong, solid business model. Some of the vacant office buildings that you've seen, the challenges there is that those are shell buildings, and
right.
They're not move-in ready. And somebody who's gonna, an office user is gonna want to build that out. That's additional cost. So they'd rather move into a space that's built out, turnkey, ready to go. So it's going to be some time before we start to see those fill up. But prices have come down. Financing's attractive, and overall in the last year we've seen positive absorption. So it's just a matter of time before that space fills up.
Okay. So how much impact are you seeing because of the election and or the fiscal cliff? In other words, when you're talking to clients and prospective clients, are they putting the brakes on now because of the uncertainty, or do they look at it as a great opportunity? What are you seeing? So
the election's a funny thing. I mean, I think that you find some people saying, let's wait and see what happens. I want to hold off. And those are traditionally the people that there's always something. It's the election. It's got to wait till I file my taxes, and they're just kind of always kicking the can down the road. But I don't think that the election per se, who's going to win, will have a huge impact. I mean, the reality is business is still going to go on. We know who we'd like to see, but I don't think that it's having. There's some people that are holding off and waiting, but overall, it's going to. We have a global economy now, and there's one person, isn't going to have, a huge impact on the market. It will be interesting once the election's over to see what kind of policies they put in place, whether the Bush tax cuts get renewed, and that's going to have the bigger impact. So I think we'll see some of that transpire down the road a little bit. But, on election day, once the election's over, are we going to see a huge spike or a huge drop one way or the other? I don't think so.
I'm Darren Vilardo. This is Money Talks on the Astor Broadcast Group, AM1510 in the Inland Empire in Orange County, AM1450 in San Diego. Currently, the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 24 points, with the S&P 500 down just a smidge over 1 now, standing at 1407.6. We're talking with Tony Guglielmo, who is a commercial real estate broker here in the Inland Empire. Now, Tony, 5 or 8 years ago, it used to be that guys were looking to move from LA or Orange County out to the Inland Empire, specifically for distribution, not really moving offices or buildings. What are you seeing now in terms of the geographic nuances that go on in Southern California?
Well, we're still seeing that push eastward. The rental rates compared to the Long Beach, LA, Orange County market are still very attractive. And, that tends to impact the larger big box industrial distribution centers. On the local level, the local manufacturing, we're not seeing a huge push out this way, but on the distribution side, yeah, the rents are, 20-30% lower, and the cost of transportation is, a fixed cost. And so we are seeing some of that, but it usually affects the larger big box companies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So not so much with the light manufacturing or light industry or a smaller business.
I'm not seeing that.
Okay. Now, we've had a big run up in the stock market over the summer, the end of the second quarter into the third quarter, a little bit of a pullback since then. How does the stock market, whether it's positive or negative, how does that impact people and their thoughts about investing in commercial real estate? And we just have a couple minutes before the break.
Well, that's a good question. And I think what you got to look at in commercial real estate is think of it as an investment vehicle. And so what happens is people, that have money sitting in the sidelines in the bank, they're looking at what they can get, buying bonds, what they can get in the stock market, and also they compare that into after-tax return or internal rate of return on a commercial real estate investment. And what you're finding is that the predictability of an income stream in commercial real estate and the return that you're going to get, can outperform the stock market. So I think that it does have an impact, and I think it's remained to be, with the tax benefits of depreciation, it's still a very attractive investment vehicle.
Beautiful. Tony, I want to thank you so much for being on the program today. If you are a small business owner out there, or a large business owner for that matter, and you want to talk to Tony about your commercial real estate needs, he can be reached at area code 909-785-4300. That's 909-785-4300, extension 101. Tony, thank you so much. I'm Darren Vilardo. This is Money Talks on the Astor Broadcast Group. Financial news and talk on AM 1510 and AM 1450. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 29 points now, with the S&P 500 down just shy of 2 points. Stay with us. In our next segment, we're going to be talking about the Bank of America news today, as well as some individual stocks that are in the news. Darren Vilardo on Money Talks. Stay with us.
Our son would go from "Good morning, Mom" to words you'd never expect to come out of your child's mouth. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. The hardest part of living with someone who has a mental illness is thinking that you're alone. NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, doesn't let anyone give up hope.
1 in 5 adults lives with depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, or other mental illnesses. NAMI provides education and support. Go to NAMI.org or call 800-950-NAMI.
Suburban Casino presents Herb Alpert and Lonnie Hall on Jazz at the Spa. From their days with the Tijuana Brass and Brazil 66, Herb Alpert and Lonnie Hall continue to bring the Latin sound of popular jazz. Join us for great stories and music with Herb Alpert and Lonnie Hall, Saturday afternoon at 1 and Sunday afternoon at 4 on Jazz at the Spa.
You're listening live to Money Talks with Darren Vilardo here on the Astor Broadcast Group, AM 1510 and AM 1450. If you're just joining the program, if you're a new listener, welcome. We appreciate you. Where have you been? Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. The show is blowing up big time here, folks, because of me, the radio brilliance of your host, Darren Vilardo. Remember, local and live for you each and every weekday morning right here, 9 a.m., financial news and insights for you. Not just me, folks, every morning, but remember, here on the Astor Broadcast Group, you get the Bloomberg Radio Network throughout the day with outstanding insights, information, and interviews on all things financial. So push that preset button if you're in your car. On the web, you can stream the shows live at financialnewsandtalk.com. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 32 points now. S&P 500 down 2.25. Remember, you can join this conversation. We'll take your call on any financial topic. Toll free, anywhere in Southern California, 888-944-6266. I want to thank our guest from the previous segment, Tony Guglielmo. Remember, I got an email during the break said, how can I get a hold of Tony? Tony is the broker owner at Allied Commercial Real Estate in Ontario, California. That's Allied Commercial Real Estate. And his number is 909-786-4300. I think I gave the number wrong prior. 909-786-4300. Allied Commercial Real Estate. All right.